Greetings comic book fans, I'm Jason and welcome to my comic book reviews for the second week of February 2015. 13 books this week to review. 12 that I picked up last Wednesday and one I picked up from the week before. I managed to get my hands on Hawkeye, so I'm going to review that one as well here. We're going to go back to our original format. We're going to start off with the books from DC, which I've got 3 books to review this week. We've then got 4 independent books to review, and finally we've got 6 Marvel books to review. So without further ado, let's get into those reviews. So we are kicking things off with DC Comics this week, and we start off with our weekly book. So it's Batman Eternal, issue number 45. I was a bit disappointed with last week's. This was much better. It did start off a bit confusing. I think it's just I'm not into that part of the story, what all came out of Arkham Asylum with all the ghosts and stuff. I'm not into that part of the story, so I find I probably don't engage with it as much, and thus I think I find it a bit more difficult to get my head around. So yeah, the beginning of this book I felt was weak. I did feel there were some good moments. I liked the moment with Corrigan and Batwing. I think those characters go well together. I've really grown to like Batwing, and I hope we still see some of him in the Bat universe going forwards. I also really like Corrigan. Maybe we'll see Batwing turn up in Gotham by midnight. That would be a nice little cameo for a few issues there, maybe. The thing I always wonder with Corrigan is his character seems very Constantine-like, and I don't know much about Spectre. I don't know much about DC pre-New 52. The bits and pieces I've read with the Spectre in were stuff like when Hal Jordan was the host to the Spectre, and also the whole Day of Vengeance story arc where the Spectre declares war on magic. I read those kind of books, but I don't. Other than that, I don't know about the Corrigan Spectre days. And I don't know if was he always like this, or have they made the character more Constantine-like with the New 52, or was he always like that? I don't know. That'd be something interesting to kind of go back and find out. But I do like those two characters together. I also really like Spoiler and Bluebird and what they're doing with those two characters, and I think they're on an interesting journey. You're kind of thinking yeah, come on, Spoiler, I know what you're saying, but Bruce Wayne is bankrupt now. How could he be behind all this and be bankrupt? Would he have figured that out? And I feel that's a plot bit that they're not kind of catching up on there. But I do like these two characters together. I would love to see a Bat Family book where every, say, 6 issues, you have a different team up. So, for the first 6 issues, you could have Spoiler and you could have Bluebird team up. And then for the second, 6 issues, you could maybe have Batwoman and Batwing team up. Then for the next 6 issues, you could maybe do, bring Batgirl and have a team with Spoiler and Bluebird. And just every 6 issues, just change it up, bring a new creative team in, and every team comes in and tells their story and then goes. I'd really like to see that, because I think there could be some really good team-ups there, but I don't think we're ever going to get a book like that. But for this, I really like where they're going with Spoiler and Bluebird. I felt as the book went on, I felt the story got stronger. There's a real nice scene with Bruce Wayne and Julia Pennyworth as they're kind of trying to figure out the big bad, and we kind of get the hint that we well, not more than a hint, we get the reveal of who the big bad could be, but I don't know if it's a red herring. I don't know if it's kind of oh yeah, this is we're going to tease you with before we reveal it. So I don't know if this is the actual big bad or if they've just the latest suspect. But I did like how they build up to the reveal, and I felt the second half of the book I enjoyed a lot more. I felt the art in this book was good. I think one of the problems with the different artists every week is sometimes the characters seem so different, and that's one of the problems here. There are characters in this that look totally different than they did in previous issues, but overall I like the art. This was a much better issue of Batman Eternal, and I give Batman Eternal issue number 45 4 stars out of 5. So moving to our other weekly now, it is the New 52 Future's End, issue number 41. And the story's really coming together now that Brainiac is on Earth. The art, despite there being 2 artists, I really liked the art in this issue. There's some great moments. Like here when Superman is battling Brainiac, I thought that was great. When Hawkman goes inside Brainiac to try and rescue the engineer, we have a really great scene there. and then when he's chucked out, you know. So I really like the art in this book, and a lot of the choices, and the colours, the usage of the colours as well. Here we have our Shazam Superman and our actual Superman. So yeah, art-wise, I liked it, and usually two artists can be a bit problematic, but it didn't spoil my joy in it. I liked the art all the way through. There's some stories that do seem to be forgotten about, but with it being a weekly book, there's still time for us to go back to them. So, but it's going to be interesting to see how those stories are going to plug in, because it seems like everything that this story's been gearing to, the whole rival of Brainiac, is what allowed it to happen. Is what we've been building to. Everything in this book seems to be screaming that it's heading towards convergence, and I am a bit concerned. Are we going to get an end to this? Because I don't mind if this leads to convergence and the event of the book kind of set that up. What I would mind is if this book didn't have a finish. If you got to the end and it didn't feel like you had an ending, if the story had a complete finish, while yet there'll be bits that go on to convergence that you feel, yeah, this was our story, our Future's End story. So I am a bit concerned, and I'm hoping that after a year of following this story, it's not going to end disappointedly. I really love the team up of the Shazam Superman, Firestorm and Dr. Polaris. I like this new Firestorm. She's a really different kind of superhero. Just in her whole kind of thought pattern, the way she dealt with Dr. Polaris, kind of seeing that, yeah, he'd done bad things, but his reasons were good, and that he wasn't like your typical villain. So and her way of dealing with it and getting him on side, I kind of liked, and it was different. So yeah, I'm liking the new Firestorm, and the three of those characters, I think, because they're like each coming from a different viewpoint, I think they work well together. I think the whole story's building nicely. I did read one review that says the plot furthers nothing at all, but I think the whole thing with the book is that it's going to move at a different pace than a monthly book is. A monthly book, you're going to have to move more per issue. With this, because it's a weekly, you can move slightly slower, and where we are at the end of the story is different to where we are at the beginning. Okay, it's not like moving super fast, but the story had advanced. As Brainiac is near to completing what he needs to do. So I do feel it's advanced. I'm really enjoying this book. I feel it's one of these books that just under the radar, that just every issue is really consistent, and I'm looking forward to seeing like how a lot of these stories that seem to be forgotten are going to come back into it. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this right now, and I give Future's End issue 41 4 stars out of 5. And our final DC book this week is Justice League 3000, issue number 14. I was a bit of a numbskull. I dropped this. I think it was around issue 4. I dropped it. I've gone back. I've managed to get all the back issues. I read all 14 issues of this book in like 3 days, and I bloody loved it. It was brilliant. I really enjoyed the story that they're building, and this issue was another really good issue. However, when I opened it, I was in for a bit of a shock, as we had a different artist. And straight away you could see Andy, I have not got a clue how we pronounce that surname, but yeah, the art is a lot different to the art that we're used to from this book. Howard Porter, I think, is the regular artist, and his art, it kind of like, this future is very grim. Yes, this book throws in humour in there that the art has to capture as well, but in the main, it's a very grim world. And I felt the art in this book just did not capture that this is a grim world. However, the story really saves the issue, as Giffen and DeMatteis are on top form. It is so good, the story. I love the constant tease of history. When we first saw Lois Lane as part of the Injustice League, I thought that this was a mistake, that history had recorded wrong, but no, it seems history was right. And I'm really curious to find out what happened between Lois Lane and Superman, and the more we get teased about it, the more we want to know. And I feel they're giving us those breadcrumbs that are keeping us going along. They're not giving us too much, not giving us too little, just enough to keep us going along and wanting to know more. Every little detail we learn, we want more. I love the whole backstory of Ice that we get this issue. I never realised she was immortal. And the other kind of twist was that this isn't the New 52. This is like the pre-New 52 world with the Justice League International. So that's really cool. But I never realised that Ice was immortal. I didn't really know that much about the character, but something I never knew. So I learned something there. But I really love her backstory. The mention of Commandy was really cool, and yeah, it was a really good story, interesting backstory that kind of explained why she was like she was when we meet her. So that was really cool. I felt there's a lot of different stories in this. We've got Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. We've got Ice's story. We've got the various members of the Justice League as their stories kind of split up. And all the stories seem to be advanced in this issue. Every story by the end has advanced, and that is brilliant. Brilliant writing, the way that they've been able to advance everything. I love also this book how it does get a bit of humour in there, because it is quite a grim book in many ways. How this future is, it's a very grim world, and they do throw a bit of light-hearted humour in there. So I always like it, reveal that. The reveal at the end I thought was really great and really unexpected, and I'm loving all these characters that they're throwing out there. But it never seems too loaded. It all works nicely. Etrigan must be a really difficult character to write, because we get to see him at the end, and he's part of this big reveal of like who's behind Etrigan. But he must be a really difficult character to write with the rhyme. But they do a great job of that here, and I really like the reveal. It's just a really great series, really underrated series. That I feel such a numbskull for have dropped, but I'm definitely back and I'm going nowhere now. And if Justice League 3000 issue number 14 gets from me 4 stars out of 5. So those are our DC books for the week. So now we're going to move on to our independent reviews. So next up we have our independent reviews. 4 independent books this week, 1 from Titan Comics and 3 from Valiant. We're going to start off with Titan, and from them this week we have Doctor Who, 11th Doctor, issue number 8. And last issue I was a bit disappointed with. This issue was a definite return to form and a definite improvement. A big part of that must be the return of Al Ewing on writing duties. He does such a great job on the book. And this issue, what he does, we have this overarching story with the Usurp Corporation, and that kind of gets covered. But at the same time, we deal and we resolve our current story. So overall, 2 stories are kind of been told here, and he does it in a really great way that diminishes either of those stories. I'm looking for my notes. Anywho, here we go. So I thought that was good. I thought the companions were much better written this issue. Last issue, Jones and Ark were very annoying. While Ark, we hardly really see much of him. But Jones, I think, is used a lot better and is a much more interesting character this issue. And Alice as well is a great companion again. So I think they were used much better. The story does kind of take a Big Hero 6 turn. But like I say, it's really great. I love the origin of how the war started. Some really great art choices. And all in all, this was a really good issue. You know, like color-wise, like we have the flashback scene to the war, how the war began there, and I liked how that was drawn and colored. And the book, you know, is very bright. I like how they drew the Doctor. It's difficult when you got a book based off a TV show, but yeah, I really like the art here. Really great issue, and I'd give issue number 8 of Doctor Who 11th Doctor 5 stars out of 5. So my first 5-star book of the week. So next up, our first Valiant book of the week. It is Q2, The Return of Quantum and Woody. I really enjoyed issue 4 of this, and this is the final issue of this miniseries. And usually Valiant's miniseries that I've read, they get stronger as they go on. This, no, this wasn't good at all. I'm very disappointed in this. I felt the beginning of the issue was confusing. It felt like I'd missed an issue. They do go back, but we kind of, the story moves forward. But so you enter the book confused, you get around that confusion, and then they add these twists, and we get about 3 different kind of twists in the tale, and I was just like confused to heck about all of this. By the end, I was just like, wait, what? Why? Add to that, Woody is a really annoying character. the original Woody this is. He's immature, he's selfish. I could go on with a lot of negative adjectives, but yeah, he's not a good character, and I just really disliked him. And when you're trying to build a sense of peril with these characters, and the one character in peril you really dislike, and you really hope something bad happens to him because you don't like this guy, and you don't want to see him still doing what he does. It doesn't help the book at all. However, the new version of Woody, I liked him a lot. The young version, a very interesting character, goes through a lot emotionally in this issue, has a lot of kind of revelations after the last issue. But the character comes out of it a really strong hero, willing to make sacrifice to save the day. And so yeah, I really liked the new Woody, but the old Woody, no, he's a bit of a jerk. All in all, I would like to say I enjoyed it, but all in all, I found this a massive letdown, and it's the first misstep I think I've experienced since reading Valiant. One best to avoid, I give Q2, The Return of Quantum and Woody, a disappointing 2 stars out of 5. Moving along to Rye now, issue number 7. I've been loving this series. I did feel this issue, I felt some of the scenes, the combat scenes, were a bit dark. I probably won't be able to find them now. Oh, here we are. I found some of these scenes a bit dark, so they were a bit hard to follow. I felt Clayton Crane seemed, there's no name here for colorists or anything, so I'm gathering Clayton Crane does the whole art kind of thing on it. And I like his art, but I wish that some of the scenes here could have been a bit lighter so I could see what was going on. Getting into the story, I enjoyed this. I thought there were some really good twists. I liked the reveal of why Spyhawk's gone to Earth. I thought that was really cool. It was a surprise that he returned from Earth this issue as well, or was on his way back. I thought we'd get to see a bit more of Earth, and I was a bit disappointed with that. Valiant did this thing where they have like 4 issues per graphic novel, so each arc kind of has 4 issues. And while, the strength of that is the story moves along a lot quicker, there's no kind of wasted panels or filler moments. That's the positive. The downside is sometimes you get something really interesting, but you cannot spend time there because the story's got to move on. I'm no doubt that at some point in the future we'll return to Earth. Maybe Earth will have its own adventure where we get to find more about it. But so I'm sure of that, but it was a little disappointing though. Why they went to Earth, that was excellent. We get a big reveal at the end, which I really liked. I think if you read in this book, I don't know if you'll get who that was, and I'm sure they'll explain it all next issue. But I'm really but having read like Eternal Warrior, Days of Steel, and I've been reading The Valiant, I knew who that character was, so I was very excited to see that character's alive in this century. The other thing I would like to say, I'm reading my notes. I need to come up with a noise that I can make, maybe a song I can sing while I'm reading my notes. I'm really liking Momo as a character. We get to find more of her awful backstory. I say awful in that she went through an awful ordeal. Terrible things that have happened to her. But they just add depth to that character, and I really, really like her character. Silk shows he cannot be trusted. And I'm just really liking where this book is heading, and I give issue number 7 of Rye 4 stars out of 5. So our final Valiant book of the week is Divinity, issue number 1. And once again, great presentation from Valiant. We get like a hard cover, a cardboardy kind of cover. The inside and inside the back as well, you have this kind of red. So it feels like you open it up, and before you've even read one panel, it feels like a big event. Then we get like the story. Then at the end of the book, we get like the special features at the back, which is a really cool thing to do, all for the usual price. Now Marvel did a similar thing to this with Death of Wolverine, and they charge you $1 more. So hats off to Valiant for making this book feel so special, and then not charging us anymore for the privilege. So, you know, that definitely started the book on a positive vibe. The story to me definitely had a feel of like the Dr. Manhattan portion of Watchmen, and probably with where this character's heading, that probably is intended. But I liked the different type of storytelling. I liked it. I did find the second half of the book confusing, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that confusion is going to be explained as we go on. It definitely gave me enough to be intrigued about. I want to come back and find out more. And I'd give Divinity issue number 1 4 stars out of 5. So those are the indie reviews. Next up, we've got the Marvel reviews. So the final part of the video now is we're going to review the books from Marvel, and kicking it off with one of the week's big releases, we have Amazing Spider-Man issue number 14, which features the conclusion to Spider-Verse. This isn't a conclusion that will blow you away in that kind of awesomeness, but what it does do is a very satisfactory conclusion that wraps everything up and kind of doesn't leave any stone unturned, and I thought they do that really well. Every spider here gets their moment to shine in the battle, and you feel that there's been this big plan and it's all coming together now, so that was really good. I was a bit shocked, a bit of a spoiler here, but I was a bit shocked that Kane's really dead. I thought there was going to be some twist with the Scarlet Spider, and that when he turned into that giant spider that there was going to be some kind of twist and he wasn't really dead, but no, he is dead. So that was a bit of a shock, not in a good way either, but I suppose with all the spider characters they've got coming in books, they wanted to kind of clear the slate. But I would have liked him to maybe have got a bit more of a send-off, as he doesn't really get time to be mourned here, which was a bit sad. But all in all, I enjoyed this. I thought it was a nice conclusion, wraps up everything nicely, and they give Amazing Spider-Man issue number 14 5 stars out of 5. Moving right along now to Spider-Woman. This is the epilogue to Spider-Verse, but also a setup for where the Spider-Woman series is going to go. I still feel that the Spider-Woman book for Spider-Verse should have been a 4-issue miniseries, and then they should have relaunched it. What would have been issue 5, what would be issue 5, should have been issue 1 of Spider-Woman with her new costume and a new kind of direction. I felt that would have made more sense, but hey, what do I know? I like this issue. We get to see more of Jessica's character. We get to see more of who Spider-Woman is. I think they tie that nicely into her change of direction and what's behind her decision. And because I wondered, like, I saw the preview art and I thought, well, what's Spider-Woman doing saving somebody from street crime? She's like an Avenger. She deals with these big apocalyptic events. She does secret spy missions. Why she, you know, but this all gets explained in this issue. So I think the writing here from Hopeless is really good, and he does a good job of setting up where this character's going to go. So I thought that was really good. We wrap up some of the things from Spider-Verse as well that particularly tie into Spider-Woman, so I liked that as well. And in many ways it kind of felt like 2 stories in this issue. The story wrapping up the Spider-Verse stuff, and the story setting up where this book's going to go. The art this issue was a problem. While Greg Land last issue I thought did a really good issue, and there was signs of improvement from him as an artist, this issue he kind of regresses back, and all the characters, no matter what's going on, are smiling. Plus all the females look the same. So, except for different outfits, they look the same. So, yeah, the art was back to the same problems, which was disappointing, because last issue I felt Land really started to make progress as an artist, and it was like, you know, step forward, 3 back. But apart from the art, I really enjoyed this issue, and I'm definitely hopeful of the direction we're going to go in the future, and I'm going to give Spider-Woman issue number 4 stars out of 5. Moving right along to a book from last week now, it is Hawkeye, issue number 21. I was a bit concerned when I sat to read this. I thought, you know, it's been so long since issue 20 came out, am I going to remember all the story? But no, I picked it up really easy, and that's got to be a credit to the writing team here, to Matt Fraction, who does the writing. He lays it out really well. He lays some things into the story. I don't know if it was already laid out like that, and it's just a sign of how good a writer he is, or if he kind of changed it a bit because he knew there would be the delay. But yeah, it really caught me up, and I was able to follow it really easy. I thought the last page was great. That last panel, I was like, yes. The art here is great, as you would expect. It always has been by Aja. Hollingsworth as well on colours. It's great to have the band back together, and they do just another great issue that just reminds me of why this was one of my favourite books for so long. It's kind of sad that the hype for it has been derailed because of all the delays, and that has hurt the book. But certainly when people look back, this will be remembered as one of the great runs. And certainly Hawkeye, I don't think before this had any great runs. So this has really reinvented the character and made him a much bigger deal in the Marvel Universe because of how good this series has been. And I give Hawkeye issue number 21 5 stars out of 5. So next up, another book. This is a book from this week. It is Thor, issue number 5. Jason Aaron is he can do no wrong, it seems, at the moment with this book. It's kind of, this issue, it kind of picks up on things from last issue while setting up new directions as well for future issues. So I like this. It's kind of, it's going to be a conduit between last issue and the next issue, which it should be because it's issue in between. But the way the story's going, I think it works really well. I love the showdown at the beginning between the Absorbing Man, Titania, and Thor, and there's a nice moment between Titania and Thor, which I really liked, so that was really cool. I like the whole direction with Detective Odinson. Like Thor Odinson is on the mission to kind of find out who this new Goddess of Thunder is, and he's got a list and he's going through it to try and find out. So I really like that scene. I thought that was really good. There's a nice moment between the All-Mother and the Goddess of Thunder Thor that I really liked as well, and a really interesting cliffhanger. Odin does seem to have gone a bit batshit crazy, but it's all good, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this is all going to lay out. But another really good issue, and I give Thor issue number 5 5 stars out of 5. So our penultimate book this week, it is Guardians 3000. Again, it's issue number 5. I'm really enjoying this book. I did find a bit, because sometimes the time is broken and the people turn up that other people can't remember who they are. And that kind of makes the story a bit confusing at times. And we get an instance of that here with a character showing up that everybody else doesn't remember. There are so many new characters. I don't know if I go back, she might have been in it before. From one of the, I don't know. I'm figuring she's a new character. But certainly, yeah, it does make it a bit confusing when you get this character and nobody knows who she is. So that did hurt it at the beginning. I think the story, however, the structure of the issue flows nicely. I like that they've split it into two, split the team into two. I think having the two smaller teams makes it easier to get to know all the different characters and to kind of remember who they are and what they can do and their relation to each other. I think that was a really good story choice. Still really enjoying this. It's not a patch on Justice League 3000, but it's still a really fun book. And I give Guardians 3000 issue number 5 4 stars out of 5. So our final book of the week is a little known book called Star Wars Darth Vader issue number 1. Loved the book, didn't love the price, $4.99, but I did really enjoy this, and kind of coming away from it, it was so good that the price didn't really have kind of any, usually when I buy a $4.99 book, you kind of like, it's gotta be good to, and this was good, and so because it was so good, the price kind of isn't as big an issue as it would have been if it was rubbish. I love the layout of the book, much like our other Star Wars book. We open up with A Long Time in a Galaxy Far, Far Away, and then we have Star Wars Darth Vader. So I really like that, and then we have like the crawl there, kind of filling you in on where Vader is. This is set after A New Hope and after the events of issue 1 and 2 of Star Wars. Vader is in the doghouse with the Emperor, so he's kind of been demoted, and Vader's doing these machinations to kind of get himself back in favour. I I really loved the scene between Vader and Jabba the Hutt. These two really strong-willed characters. It was a great scene. It was kind of like this kind of poker scene where they've both got a good hand and like who's going to play it the smartest. So that was really cool. I love seeing those two characters interact. The scene with the Emperor and Vader I thought was really good. I liked the way the Emperor was written with that sarcasm. He reminded me of the character, so callous and cold. I really like the direction they're taking Vader. The flashback to like remembering his battle in issue 1 and 2 of Star Wars with Luke, and his recognition of the lightsaber being his. I kind of liked how he went through all that going through his head and him trying to process what it all means. So that was really cool. We get to see him get hooked up with Boba Fett, and we get this random Wookiee. I'm wondering because in Empire, Boba Fett had them Wookiee pelts on his outfit. So in this, he didn't have them. So I'm wondering if something happens with that Wookiee character that we get introduced to, and that he's going to end up as the pelts on Boba Fett. Time will tell. The art throughout I thought was tremendous. I really liked the art. All in all, it was just a really great book. It was the first book I read, and while there were a lot of good books that I enjoyed this week, nothing really quite touched this one. It was brilliant. Much like issue 2 of Star Wars, I was making lightsaber sounds as I read it, which I'm lucky I read this book at home and not on the buzz or anything, because yeah, people think I'd gone a bit nutso. But yeah, this was brilliant. Really enjoying the Star Wars stuff Marvel are putting out, and I'd make Darth Vader issue number 1 my pick of the week. So those are my reviews for this week. Now for like something a little bit different. Kind of every week now I'm going to end my videos. We're going to find out which is the comic company of the week. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the books from like for example the DC books. I'm going to take the books, add their scores that I gave their books together, divide it by the number of books I reviewed, and that will give me an average. And I'm going to do that. Going to do that for the DC books, the independent books, and Marvel. And we're going to find out each week which group of books were the winners this week, which one gave the better books. Partly this is just a bit of fun, but also I've been moaning a lot about Marvel lately, and they're still putting out some really good books, but I've been in a very negative mood with Marvel, and I've been enjoying what DC are putting out. Some very underrated books coming out of DC. I'm loving what Valiant are doing, and I've also really enjoying a lot of Image books right now. So they're the companies that I would praise a lot, where Marvel, I would quite, rightly or wrongly, I'd have my Marvel moan every week. So I thought this would be just an interesting kind of thing to see, well, while I moan and I praise different companies, but each week, which are the ones that are the strongest. So this week, these are the top 3, so let's see how it works out. In third place, with an average score of 3.75, were the independent books, so they finished in third this week. In second place, with an average score of 4 points per book, we have DC Comics. So the comic company of this week was Marvel, with an average score of 4.6. So I'm going to be doing that every week. I might in future get like a graphic on the screen so people can see, you all can see as they get the scores. So yeah, Marvel are the company of the week. That's this video done. Thank you very much for sticking with me to the end. I will be back for definite on Wednesday. I'll be doing my comic haul video. It's a bit of a mad week this week. 22 books. I thought the 20 weeks had finished, but no, they're back with a vengeance. I've got a couple of them this month. I keep hoping, every time I get into a new month, I'm hoping that, like, with all the books being cancelled and stuff, that my pull list is going to go down, but it just does not seem to be happening, because as quick as they cancel books, they bring new books out, and yeah, I am weak and I get easily tempted, You can make the argument I spend too much on comics, but the way I look at it, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't go to strip clubs, I don't smoke, I don't really have any other vice other than comics, so I feel I'm allowed one vice, and I sure live that vice hard. Anywho, last bit before we go, I'm going to end the video on a bit of good news. Those of you who've been watching my videos for a while will remember in December I said I'd quit my job. I was unhappy at the work I was doing, and I thought I needed to get out, so I quit. Not the smartest thing to do, to quit without a job to go on to. However, last Monday I went along to an open day. They called me back for an interview on Friday, and Friday afternoon they phoned me and offered me the job, so I am back in employment. So all's good. I've got this week off, and then I start next week. I've got a bit of training, and then they'll put me to work on the job. So it's all good. So that's some really good news. I was getting a bit worried. I'd managed to make my money last 2 months, but it was beginning to get squeaky bum time. But fortunately, it's worked out. So I'm really pleased with how it all worked out. So that's me ending it on a bit of good news. I've been Jason. These have been my comic book news. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.